Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading today from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, text number 28 today. So I just want to set this quickly. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, let's just leave it there. Okay, text number 28. Avyaktadin bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidhan anyeva tatra ka paridevana avyaktadin bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidhan anyeva tatra ka paridevana avyaktadin bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidhan anyeva tatra ka paridevana. Bhutani Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata Anybody else like to try?
Avyaktani bhutani
Avyaktani bhutani
madhyani bharata
bharata
avyaktani tanyeva tatraka
paridevana. Good. All right, synonyms, word for word. Avyaktya adin, in the beginning, unmanifested. Bhutani, all that are created. Vyakta, manifested. Madhyani, in the middle. Bharata, O descendant of Bharata. Avyakta, non-manifested. Nidhani, when vanquished. Eva, it is all like that. Tatra, therefore. Ka, what? Paridevana, lamentation. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All created beings are unmanifested in their beginning, manifested in their interim state, and unmanifested again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? So let's try to repeat the translation. All created beings are unmanifested in their beginning, manifested in their interim state, and unmanifested again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Accepting that there are two classes of philosophers, one believing in the existence of the soul and the other not believing in the existence of the soul, there is no cause for lamentation in either case. Non-believers in the existence of the soul are called atheists by the followers of Vedic wisdom. Yet even if, for argument's sake, we accept this atheistic theory, there is still no cause for lamentation. Apart from the separate existence of the soul, the material elements remain unmanifested before creation. This is from this subtle state of non-manifestation comes manifestation. Just as from ether all is generated, from air fire is generated, and from fire water is generated, and from water earth becomes manifested. From the earth many varieties of manifestations take place. Therefore, take for example, a big skyscraper manifested from the earth. When it is dismantled, the manifestation becomes again unmanifested and remains as atoms in the ultimate stage. The law of conservation of energy remains. But in course of time, things are manifested and unmanifested. That is the difference. Then what is the cause there for being... Then what cause is there for lamentation either in the stage of manifestation or in unmanifestation? Somehow or the other, even in the unmanifested stage, things are not lost. Both at the beginning and at the end, all elements remain unmanifested. And only in the middle are they manifested. And this does not make any real material difference. And if we accept the Vedic conclusion, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, that these material bodies are perishable in due course of time, antavante deha, but that the soul is eternal, nitya yukta saririna. Then we must remember always that the body is like a dress. Therefore, why lament for the changing of a dress? The material body has no factual existence in relation to the eternal soul. It is something like a dream. In a dream, we may think of flying in the sky or sitting on a chariot as a king. But when we wake up, we can see that we are neither in the sky nor seated on a chariot. The Vedic wisdom encourages self-realization on the basis of the non-existence of the material body. Therefore, in either case, whether one believes in the existence of the soul or one does not believe in the existence of the soul, there is no cause for lamentation for loss of the body. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamai Ham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavanamuscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Tam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyathyade Satharine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So it's wonderful to see all the smiling faces again for the Bhagavad Gita class. We are discussing this very important section in the second chapter. It's between verses 11 and 30 is one complete section. And it's discussing the science of the soul. Now, this is very significant because in any other theological understanding of the science of the soul, it's not so clear what the soul is. It's not so clear. There are many religious traditions that are explaining the soul and give some idea of what the soul is. Some of it, it's on. Oh, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, should we start again? Okay, so we're explaining that this second chapter is very significant because it's explaining the science of the soul. And as there are different religious traditions that explain the soul, the Vedic conclusion, the Vedic understanding is very, I put it already. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. He notices. He's very observant. Thank you. So, as we're discussing, so there are different theological dispositions on what the soul is. Some traditions think of it as a metaphorical understanding. Oh, your soul and our soul. And it's not so clear, it's more poetic. Some descriptions are poetic. In some traditions like Buddhism, it speaks of the living being, or rather it speaks of reincarnation but doesn't speak of a soul. So what is actually being reincarnated then? So it's not so clear, like we'll see in the next verse, I think, tomorrow's verse, where it's amazing, ascharyavat. It's amazing, this concept of the soul, because it's not so clear what it is. But in the Vedic conclusion, it's very, very clear. So in the Vedic understanding, Krishna has given almost 20 verses to explaining this concept of the soul. It's not given so clear in other traditions. But in Bhagavad Gita, it's very clear. Krishna takes a lot of time. Actually, it's the first thing, Krishna starts to explain. Now, why, this is a little trick question to see if you were paying attention in the previous classes. Why does Krishna start to speak of the soul? When he starts to teach Arjuna as guru now, why does he start to speak of the soul firstly? Any ideas?
Because he is lamenting for the body.
Yes. So the idea of lamenting, this Prabhupada brings out in the purport. But we are trying to focus on something that Arjuna said in the first chapter. Remember how many arguments Arjuna put forward? 4 arguments. C-E-D-S. What is the C-E-D-S? I'm sure Mother Yashoda did this with us, right? C-E-D-S. What does that stand for? C for? Yes, you're saying it. Compassion. Compassion argument. Arjuna says, no, we have to be compassionate. We can't do this. E for enjoyment. How will I enjoy if I kill everyone? D for destruction of dynasty. If I destroy these warriors, then there'll be Vanasankara. What will happen to the womanhood? So destruction of dynasty. And S, sinful activity. This is sinful. And one more argument comes in the first part of the second chapter, indecision. But the first argument Arjuna gave was C, compassion. And that compassion argument, like Mataji is saying, is based on the body. And because if it's based on the body, Krishna is explaining the first teaching he's given, asochanam vasochastam pragya bhadam se bhashase. You're speaking like a learned person, but you don't know the difference. Gatam agata samscha nanu sochani pandita. You don't know what is permanent and impermanent. You don't know the difference, but you're speaking so many different philosophies. So Krishna immediately takes that role. So in this discussion today, Krishna is discussing different aspects of the soul, and in particular, people who have different philosophies about the soul. What is, it's not, like we say, because it's not a material thing, how do we study it? Because it's not seen by the eyes, it's not heard, we know it's not flammable, it can't be burnt, it's insoluble, it can't be dissolved or touched by water, it's uncleavable, you can't break it or you can't cut it. So if you can't do all these physical things, how are we going to experiment to find out about the soul? So Krishna is giving a different form of knowledge here. He's saying this knowledge is Raja Vidya Raja Guyam. This is the secret of all secrets of knowledge. That's why it was given to kings. Only kings understood this kind of knowledge before. It was greatly Raja Rishis. They were people who were possessors of this kind of advanced knowledge. And one of the aspects of this knowledge is the soul. So there were other people who heard about it but didn't accept it because you cannot experiment with it. Like modern day scientists, we'll see just now also, that because they can't experiment with the soul, then they don't believe. It doesn't exist. If I cannot, the word is extrapolate. If I cannot measure it, put it in front of me and by empiric study try to work it and dissect it and work it out, I don't believe it exists. So this kind of philosophy is being addressed here today, in today's verse. That this is an atheistic idea. It's not theistic. It's not believing that God and the soul exists. Now, of course, these are not easy concepts to explain. I was just in Nairobi over the last month, and we met with some students studying microbiology at in Kenya. And it was very, very interesting to see, because I wanted to see firsthand what's the latest findings about this before I started to speak to them. So I said, hey, you guys, many of them were post-grad students and studied, microbiology and the different genomes and the genetics and all of these things where topics were coming out. And then I asked them, what about understanding the science of the soul? Oh, we don't believe in that. We don't accept that. But you exist, right? Yeah, we exist, we live, and we have understanding of the world according to the science of today. So then I started cross-questing, and then they started to think about different ideas and different concepts. And one of these, and some of these ideas actually I was using from this chapter to explain the science of the soul. We'll try to go through some of them just now in a simplified way. Now, the different philosophies that reject the soul. So Prabhupada starts with this translation. In today's verse, he says here, all created beings, in the translation. All created beings are unmanifested in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what is the need to lament? So the basic idea of this philosophy is that things appear, they stay for some time, and then they degenerate and disappear again. So if you either accept it as a living being, then it's inevitable the body is going to die. So whatever you attach to or relate to as a living being, it's inevitable fact of life. That where I think yesterday's verse was discussing that, yeah? That where if for one who is born, death is certain. For one who dies, birth is certain again. So it's an inevitable part of life. You cannot, these are certain laws which govern the nature of life. You can't dispute these laws. These are axiomatic laws, means you cannot change them. These are part of the principles of the mechanism of nature. So if that is so, how do I understand it? So Krishna is putting the argument to Arjuna. Even if you accept that they are living beings, they will have to die. Whether you're going to kill them or not, they will have to die. But you had asked me in the second chapter, very earlier on, 7th verse, Karpanya dosha prahata swabhava yachanti tvam dharma samuda chetaha. What is my dharma? So I'm telling you what is your dharma. Your dharma is to help me establish religion. Yada yada hi dharmasya. That's what I come to do. So if you're going to help me do that, that will be your dharma. So Krishna is giving his dharma. But when he's seeing it from his perspective, he's saying, I'm going to kill these innocent people, which are my family people. Drona, Bhishma, those are the two people he's concerned about. One, it's his grandfather, the other one is his guru. Everybody else, okay, they were not so kind to the Pandavas. But these two people are his elders, his respected people. And in Vedic culture, you respect elders, especially guru, seniors. So he's saying, how can you ask me to kill here? So then he's giving the atheistic idea that even if it's not a person, even if it's just chemicals, when chemicals decompose, it comes right down to its atomic level, and on that level, it becomes back into nature. It gets recycled back into nature. So there's no loss there also. Even if you see them as chemicals, it will go back. Prabhupada mentions in the purport the conservation of energy law. It's a very scientific principle, but Prabhupada actually put it here in the purport. He spoke about it. So we'll speak about, just like this, everything that we know that is sentient has come into creation like this. It has been created by a male and female of that species. It comes from nothing. It comes non-manifest. It manifests just like a plant. It manifests, it grows, it produces byproducts, and then it itself becomes non-manifest. So that cycle that is there. It's a logical cycle of life. So this verse is explaining that. Prabhupada says in the purport, accepting that there are two classes of philosophers, one believing in the existence of the soul, and the other not believing in the existence of the soul. So, what is the common word here? Yes, and one more. Believing. So the scientist is also believing, and if it's belief, then your system of study how is it different from mine? I am also believing based on Shastra, you also believing based on what you are finding through your study. So two systems of knowledge are there. One is the descending, one is the ascending. So it's two systems of knowledge, but both are knowledge. Just to say one, you cannot accept one just because I don't like it. It's not proper, it's not being scientific. So one is coming in a descending line and one is the empiric way, ascending line. So he's saying there's two systems here. There is no cause for lamentation in either case, because either way, if you accept it as a person, the law, they have to die. And if you accept it that this is just some chemicals, like Prabhupada challenged, you know this book, Life Comes From Life. If you turn it at the back, it's written that Prabhupada was discussing with Maharaj's name now? Sarup Damodar Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. So he's discussing with Maharaj, then he says, if you can create life biochemically in a laboratory, can you do that? I'll give you all the chemicals, you create some simple form of life. So what they've done, actually some of the new technology, they were able to adapt that life forms. But they use the same chemicals, ingredients of this earth. It's not anything different, and they've not really created new life. It's an adaptation of that life. So they say, oh, we've created life form. It never created life form. It didn't. So Arjuna is querying like this about this, that if life is coming from chemicals, then it's also is nothing to lament about. So let's see a little bit here. I wanted to show you. Yes. So if we see, then who are we exactly? You've been seeing over the classes now. And this is the big question then, because if chemicals are changing, there is something that's permanent that is not changing. And this is what science can't explain. Because what is experiencing all of this change? Who is the experiencer? This is the big question we ask the scientists. Fine, we accept your theories, we accept your experiments, but who is the observer? In science it's called the observer. Who is the observer? Who is that which is observing? Because everything else changes. So who are we then? And what would your answer be? If you didn't know, you'll say, well, I'm the body, like the scientists are showing us here. And basically, the body is made up of these essential elements. We have a doctor here. So Mataji can share with us. Yeah, that the basic elements of body is that. And if you add that all together, if you take the total worth of those chemicals, it's 210 rupees. So is that all we're worth? I think we're worth more than that, yeah? But the chemical worth is that much. So that's Krishna's argument. This is Krishna's argument. That if you think we're chemicals, then okay, chemicals go back to the earth. Where's the loss? There's no loss or anything. So what system of knowledge Krishna is using here? He's using the system of naiti. This system of saying, no, it's not this, it can't be this, it can't be that. By analyzing something and moving it aside, when you observe everything, you realize it can't be this, it can't be that. Like I can't be, maybe I'm my hand, but I'm saying so I can't be the hand, I can't be the head. If I can't be any of these, then I can't be the body. If I'm not the body, then maybe I'm the mind. But we see the mind changes, it fluctuates, it grows. The mind of a child, the mind of an adult is different. And maybe I'm the intelligence, but that also learns, it changes. Then, and if you have amnesia, then you lost everything. You have a complete factory reset. But still I'm existing. So I can't be any of that. Could I be the false ego? Well, the ego in itself also, I have different identities. So which identity am I? I know that also changes. So we'll say, well, maybe I'm my memory, because I'm remembering all of this. We'll see Prabhupada will explain this point very nicely just now. So maybe I'm remembering all these things. Well, if you're your memory, before the age of 2, you don't remember anything, do you? If you don't remember anything before 2, did you exist? Of course you existed, because I'm here now. I must have been 2 years old. But I didn't have memory then. So if I existed, what existed at that time? That is unchanging. So what is that which is unchanging? If you come down like this, you'll have to come to a point to accept that there is something within this body that is non-material and non-changing. Now, how to understand that? In the 16th verse of this chapter, Krishna explained this very nicely. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satam. Upayor api drishtointas tvanayas tattvadarshibhi. Those who are actually scientists, tattvadarshis, who have studied that which is material, and they've also studied that which is eternal, spiritual. And by studying the nature of both of these, they've come to the conclusion that that which is eternal is permanent. So it's not that our rishis were not scientifically minded. They've studied the nature of both these things. They didn't just say, no, this is atheistic, we're not interested. They studied both. And of that which is non-permanent, they said, no, this is temporary. And this falls in that category, the body. And that which is permanent, that is not changing. That goes on. So that's a technique Krishna used here. Now the word reincarnation, we heard it so many times, right? But we also heard the word transmigration. So is there a difference in these two? What is the difference between reincarnation and transmigration? Transmigration is used more frequently. So the word migrate means to what? Move. Yeah, it's like a journey. So one aspect of it is discussing the journey of the soul, that is transmigration. And reincarnation is discussing the entry and leaving of the soul. So that tells us then there are different phases in the existence of the soul. Actually, there are 3 phases. These 3 phases is the soul, one part leaving the current body, transmigrate, it moves, the journey, and reincarnate. It goes into a new body. So there's 3 phases of understanding how the soul exists. Ontologically, this word is called. Within the way it's structured in the material paradigm, how it exists here in 3 parts. It's either existing in a current, it's incarnate, it's within a body. Carnate means to take into flesh. It transmigrates, it moves, or it reincarnates. It again takes into another body. So that's the different phases of the soul. So let's watch this, let's see this. So if you watch this body, this is a little child, and if say we'll give him a name, let's give him a name, Krishna Das, right? So you're watching Krishna Das now, right? So is this Krishna Das right now? It is. But you saw from a child he's become a teenager. And is he still Krishna Das? Is he still Krishna Das? But he's changing.
What is changing?
Yeah. Is he still Krishna Das now? Is he still Krishna? Now he's changed a lot. Now he's changed quite a lot. Yeah? Oh, now he's really changed a lot. Yes. So in this whole exchange, who is the Krishna Das we're referring to? Because none of what we refer to as a person is permanent there. All of that which we refer to as Krishna Das, which we related to as Krishna Das, is changed. You saw the whole change there. All of that changes. So every 7 years, the body changes completely. So if we watch this carefully, you can see this diorama also upstairs in our museum here.
The soul cannot be measured with any scientific instrument. Yet this minute, non-material entity, the soul,
So minute and non-material. It's not a material entity.
is so powerful that it unceasingly activates each body throughout its entire lifetime. This tiny little spark of life thus moves from one body to another. This is called reincarnation. It is not difficult to understand. Even in our own life, we live in different bodies. Medical science has demonstrated that all of our cells are replaced every 7 years, including even the brain. On the battlefield, Krishna tells Arjuna,
As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from childhood to youth to old age, the soul likewise passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change.
So the self-realized soul is not bewildered. Everybody else is. Why? Because he knows the nature of both. So let's see now in the modern understanding, how have they come to understand? Because there's been some amazing documentation that's come forward, cases in medical, especially in the medical field, on people having a kind of experience which is out of the body. And medically it cannot be explained because at that time these people's bodies were completely dead. There was no brain activity, no bodily, no cardio activity. The heart was stopped. So how can you explain that the person was understanding or still connected? So let's watch this part.
in 10 seconds following cessation of heart function, blood stops flowing in the brain.
So as soon as the heart stops beating, within 10 seconds of that, the brain goes down. The brain goes flat.
And the EEG, which measures the electrical brain activity, goes flat, implying that there is no electrical activity in the brain.
That means there's no, if the brain is not showing any activity, means nothing else in the body is working. Because if it was working, the brain will show some kind of activity.
Given that when you stop breathing and your heart stops, and given that 10 seconds after that, that the EEG, the measure of electrical brain activity, goes absolutely flat, it's medically inexplicable that near-death experiencers are having a conscious experience.
So how can the person have some conscious understanding when everything is dead? That's some indication that what is conscious is not anything material or nothing of the body. And where have we heard that? Krishna has explained this in Gita. That which pervades the entire body, know it to be consciousness. Where the verse will come just now.
Maria, a migrant worker from Eastern Europe,
Now this is an example, what happened to this person, Maria.
was rushed to hospital after she collapsed at a friend's home. In the ICU, a medical team tried to stabilize her condition without success. Her heart stopped beating.
So a heart stopped beating, and then if the heart stops, after how long? 10 seconds, the brain is going to go down, right?
Maria's body was lifeless for several minutes,
So
but the doctors kept on trying to bring her back to life. Then they suddenly realized that the heart monitor showed some life.
All of a sudden,
Maria was supposed to be dead. Maria came back to life and immediately told an amazing story. She saw everything while she left her body. She could see the medical team working on her. She then left the ICU to the roof of the hospital, and as she went up, saw a tennis shoe.
she saw a tennis shoe on top of the hospital building.
No one believed her
So would you believe that story? Nobody will believe it, right? So the only way you could know that is if somebody actually went on top there.
story. But her friends immediately ran up to the roof and with absolute shock found the tennis shoe exactly as described by Maria.
So how can you explain something like this then? You see, you can't just pass it out. The person was almost dead and the person was resuscitated, and in that interim of that few minutes, the person saw everything in the hospital ward. Not only that, noticed that on top of the roof of the hospital there's a tennis shoe. So how do you explain this? If the body was just dead, what actually saw the tennis shoe then? Must be something that's non-material. It has to be something non-material. We got a case here. We got a case here. Let's see further.
To this person's head. And the person sees this. He sees all of it. She sees all of it. No one around can see this, but they're watching.
In order to make sure that our patients are comfortable, we often use an EEG monitor that helps us know what the level of consciousness for our patients. As the patient approaches death, the level of consciousness as measured by these EEG devices goes down.
So this is people who are slowly dying off now. They are terminally ill and they're dying. So they watch the monitor and they're saying, now when is that point when they're dead? So they're watching.
Very low levels, and then eventually goes to zero. So at this point, they're no longer breathing.
So at this point, this particular patient is no longer breathing.
And this is essentially a patient who is now passed away.
So this is a monitor. You see right at the bottom there now, the person is passed away. So if the person is passed away, there's no physical features, nothing happening on the body, nothing is working in the body. But look what happens all of a sudden.
After they die, the patient's monitor shows a surge in brain activity.
So how is the brain activity all of a sudden? The person is dead. There's nothing. There's no features working. How come this? And if it was just like a spark, a spike, then one may say, well, maybe it's the body dying off. There's some spasm, something like that. But this goes on for 2 to 3 minutes.
The level of spikes that we see are comparable to a person who's wide awake and talking.
So it's like somebody who's wide awake and talking. And you see that spike is almost halfway there, right? That's quite a strong spike. And what has created that? Because it's not from the body.
This spike often lasts 2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes. So it's nothing that the body is, if the body was just giving spasms, like muscle reflexes, then it would be one spasm and it'll stop. One spasm and probably stop. This is going continuous for 2 to 3 minutes. What is energy? What is giving power to the brain which is not coming from the body? There's something existing, non-material beyond the body. Has to be. So you can see even in the scientific world now, with the instruments that they have, they're also coming to realize there's something here. There is something here. We can't understand it. We don't have the instruments because Krishna is saying you can't measure it. You can't, and there's no way you can experiment with it. So you have to accept it then. If you're having these experiences, you have to accept it through a different source of knowledge, which is disciplic succession. In that form of knowledge, it can be very easily explained. So I just want a little bit more and then we'll hear from Prabhupada on this topic. So in the modern idea, this also comes as metapsychosis. Metapsychosis is this philosophical term, just to give you some idea, of transmigration. So if you're speaking to philosophers or medical doctors on this, they'll probably use that term more. So it's the same idea. So Krishna has described this. And if it's just chemicals, then what is the meaning of life then? If life is just coming from chemicals and as a chemical base, surely life is more enriching. What about love? What about care? You saying then if it's just chemicals, like Prabhupada is saying, there's two schools of philosophers, the atheistic and the theistic. So the atheistic will say, it comes from chemicals. So are you saying then that the love between a mother and a child is just some chemical reaction? Maybe because he's not a mother to understand. But there's something deeper there. It's so deep that there's even evidence that a mother knows when the child is something wrong with the child, even when not in the proximity. The mother can detect something is wrong with the child. So they've done so much detailed experiments on this, and they've scientifically proven it now. How? Because when the child is in the mother's womb, the mother's body and the child is within the mother. So the same stem cells that create the child is also moving in the body of the mother. The same blood flow until the child is born. So the child actually has part of the mother's bodily cells, stem cells. And the child also, and the mother has part of the child's stem cells. So inadvertently, they're actually 1.5 of the same body. So therefore, they can logically say that they can know each other if something is wrong because they both share the same cells. So there's evidence of this also. So it's very clear, it's not just chemicals here. Because when the mother loves a child, it's deeper than this, that. Any kind of expression, any kind of experience, you can't explain experience scientifically. Because it's subjective and it's real. You have a genuine experience. But there's no scientific instrument to measure love. Is there an instrument to measure pain? We don't even have an instrument to measure pain. We know intensities of pain, but we can't actually measure it. So anything that's an experience, it's real to us. If it's real and it's part of who we are in this material world, we can't just push that aside and just say chemicals. We are also that. Besides being the body, we are also part of as a person. We have a personality. So you can't just move that aside and say it doesn't exist. So the balance of both is required. Prabhupada says here, this law of conservation of energy remains, but in the course of time, the manifested and non-manifested both are differentiated. Just like I think in the Bible it also says, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Things start from ashes, comes up, grows and goes back to dust. Same idea is there. It's not a new concept. Prabhupada says here, the Vedic wisdom encourages self-realization because this understanding, this inquiry of who we are cannot completely be, like you can see, medical science has some idea, there is something here, but it won't have a complete picture until it comes into contact with Vedic knowledge. And what does Prabhupada say here? He says, Vedic knowledge, Vedic wisdom encourages self-realization on the basis of non-existence of the material body. It's saying, yes, your body is there, but it's not a permanent feature. Otherwise, which body was Krishna Das there? I showed you this now. It was constantly changing. We see, you may have a pimple here, tomorrow it's here. That means the body changed. It's constantly changing, constantly moving. Actually, it's constantly, we say changing, but if you analyze it as a philosopher, you'll see it's constantly decaying. It's decomposing. You'll only realize this when you get older, when the pain starts. When your pain starts, then we realize, oh, sure. Time is up, yes. Any time now, the conch will go, you know. So the thing is to utilize, make the best use of the bad bargain. This morning I was speaking to our head pujari, Mukunda Dat Prabhu, and he was also saying, hey, the body is taking strain now. He had to check I think his liver is troubling him, his heart is troubling him. He had a swollen liver and things like that. So then we were just sharing on this point that, yeah, what can we do? We just have to make the best use of a bad bargain. Because this bargain, this opportunity, even demigods don't get. To utilize this bodily existence, human form of life, and to be able to understand Krishna, worship Krishna, engage in devotional service, and easily go back to Godhead. So let's hear, in the last few minutes, I want to hear from Prabhupada how he explains this point of transmigration. Yeah? Now, it's very interesting also, one quick one. Do you know this fish? Maybe some of you know this Walt Disney movie called Mimo. Yes, hey, we got some small fellows here in the front, yeah? You know this one, huh? You know Mimo, right? Mimo the fish. So this is a very interesting species of fish because it changes its complete body from male to female. So what is existing then? Let's see this fish.
My name is Justin Rhodes, and I study behavioral neuroscience. We've chosen a model organism that shows a very dramatic example of social environment having a long-lasting impact on the behavior and physiology of the organism.
So having on the behavior and physiology, the body will actually have a change. Let's see.
Model system to understand how the brain orchestrates this. And these are clownfish.
So these are called clownfish, these fish.
Change sex depending on the social environment.
So they completely change the physiology from male to female. Complete. The whole body literally changed. Let's see.
We actually have about 1,500 gallons of marine aquariums at Beckman Institute. We have clownfish paired off in 26 tanks. One male, one female, and maybe a couple of other smaller undifferentiated fish living on sea anemones. And the larger one is always female, dominant.
So the larger one is the female one, the dominant one, right?
The second in the hierarchy is the male. And if you remove the female...
And if you take the female out of the tank...
then the male will change sex and become female in a matter of a couple of months.
In few months, the male changes its physiology, its sex, to becoming female. In a few months. So what is this fish then? If it can change its body so dramatically like that, if a fish can do that, how can the fish be the body? Because the body completely changed. And they've studied this. So here's a typical example of in nature where the body completely changes, completely from male to female, not only from childhood, youth and old age. Completely changed over. So directly you can see it's not the body. All right?
So radical that the patient must die in order to live.
So this this is another one of an experiment of a famous person named Pam Reynolds, where she had such an amazing surgery done where they had to literally kill her to do the operation and then resuscitate her. But in that, look what happened. Okay, let's see the doctor.
Putting the patient asleep.
So first you put the patient asleep.
Starting to cool the patient externally.
So cool the body down.
The second thing that's done is the patient is given a drug that actually shuts down the metabolism of your brain. And that drug has the ability to get rid of all your brain waves.
So it stops all your brain waves. That means there's no function in your brain, no thinking, everything stops.
Pam's brain was completely shut down, making her incapable of generating a thought or a memory.
So she couldn't even, because if the brain stopped, means there's no thinking and there's no memory also. So
when the temperature gets down to 16, 17, 18 degrees centigrade, the heart and lung machine is actually turned off, and a significant amount of the body's blood is allowed to pool in a reservoir, and that empties.
So they drain all the blood out and they stop the heart and the breathing machine, respiratory machine.
The aneurysm.
Pam's heart stopped. She had no blood circulating in her body or her brain.
She was dead except for the fact that Dr. Spetzler had the ability to restart her heart and bring her back. But during the hour of clinical death, Pam believes she was incredibly, acutely alive. She embarks upon one of the most remarkable near-death experiences ever reported, when Beyond Human Limits returns. Pam Reynolds is clinically dead, but as her body lies lifeless on the operating table, she believes her mind lives on.
The first really vivid memory I had was of a sound. I heard a sound and it was distinct. It reminded me of sort of being in a dentist's office. And I remember wondering what that sound was.
So she's hearing some sound, like a machine sound, like a dental sound. Yeah, but how can she hear any sound if the brain is not working? So the sound is not being communicated through the body. She's experiencing the sound out of the body.
The sound began to pull me.
With very fine instruments, we separate tiny little blood vessels that are adherent to this balloon.
First sound, then sight. Pam becomes an observer of her own operation.
Then she starts, first she hears, now she's observing her own operation.
I was sort of looking down at the body, and I knew it was my body, but I was not at all attached to it.
Not like Arjuna.
I was not that body. I was whatever was looking down at it.
So she's saying, I was not that body, I was whatever was looking down at the body. So we sing, I wish I had more time, but you've seen the essence of what I wanted to show you. There is evidence in the medical field, in the scientific field, that there's something like the soul that exists. Now let's hear it from the Tattvadarshi, Srila Prabhupada, for the next 5 minutes at least. What is the soul?
So, past, present, future, you exist. The body changes. Is it not clear? So therefore,
you think you're going to say it's not clear?
the conclusion that when he not have this body, he will have another body.
So if past, present and future you existing, and in the material world you can only exist if you have a body. Even if not a physical, a subtle body, but you have to have some form of a body. So Prabhupada is saying then, if you don't have this body, you must have another body.
You are sitting here. If you don't sit here, you go. That does not mean you are sitting, opportunity is lost. You are sitting here, you sit somewhere. Similarly, the change of body is going on. Therefore, the conclusion is that after you give up this body, you will have another body, as you have already done. What is the difficulty to understand?
The seeming difficulty is that while the body is different from another body.
Different body must be different. Therefore, that is called change of body. Unless it is a different body, what is the change?
The memory is there.
So one devotee gives the argument that, but there's memory there. So it's a good argument, right? Because we are remembering. Although the body is changing, something is not, that is the memory. So let's see what Prabhupada says.
The boy, and or the spirit is there.
Memory, sometimes we may not remember. Just like this child, he may not have memory when he was very small, but you have got memory.
So Prabhupada is saying then, just like a little child, before 2 years old, he doesn't remember anything. But did he exist? He existed. So what is that existed before 2 years old? Yes. So to say, I am my memory, if you're not your memory, means you won't exist. But you did exist before 2 years. That means I'm more than just a memory then. That's what Prabhupada is saying here.
When he was a small child, he was doing something, or something. He was playing with some cats and dogs. But he does not remember that. But he remembers. So, simply because he has forgotten, does that mean that the incidences are not present?
Just because you forgot now that I was 2 years old, does that mean I didn't exist at that time? It's forgotten? No. Somebody observed it. My mother observed it. And the fact that I am here means I was 2 years at some time. So what was that was existing before my 2 years period?
So this argument is not very strong because I cannot remember. We do not remember so many things.
Why to speak 2 years? What we did last week at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We can't remember that. What to speak of? Were we existing last week at 2 o'clock? We were existing. So what was that was existing? Because if memory is the proof, I forgot last week already. So it can't be memory.
But the fact is this, that you are changing from this body to this body to this body. Therefore the conclusion should be that after this body I will accept another body. And that's the fact.
So we'll stop there because of time, but I think we got the essence of what Prabhupada is also saying there. That we constantly, the body is changing, then what is it that doesn't change? It must be something that's not material, it's the soul. So this kind of concludes, I think there's 2 more verses here to conclude this whole section on the soul. And there's very exciting studies going on in research fields and people who are really coming close to, they've discovered different methods of studying energy. And although they can't perceive the soul, but the soul itself has consciousness, which is energy, energizes the whole body. So that they'll be able to detect. And from that they're deducing that if there's so much of energy coming from the body like this, where is the source of this energy? They're developing instruments to try to figure this out. So it's a very exciting time, because whatever Prabhupada has taught us, whatever is there in the Bhagavad Gita, it's absolute knowledge. We're seeing it firsthand. We've already had an advanced lesson in it. And now people are coming to appreciate. So we'll stop there. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Go Premanande. Hare Hare Go.